I think we're live. Uh, Setting up your meeting for Facebook Live.
Can you tag me in that or no?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely can. Okay, so we
Yep, we're
are
live, brother.
live. Yeah, we are live. So I can't just tag you in the comment, right?
I don't know. You could possibly tag me in the post itself.
Um, well, let's see where I need to do that. Okay, so it's funny that we're actually doing this live. Why is it on? Um, all right, folks, just bear with us here. We're I'm trying to tag John in our live. Why is it I can't do this here?
Let's see if I can do it.
That would be great. All right, so I did that. Maybe I don't know if that'll help or not.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, cool.
Yep.
All right, well, let's rock and roll. Welcome to the Successful Life Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Barrier, and I'm here with John Marrone. And I think I said that right. What's up, John?
Everything, brother. How are you?
I am doing magnificent in all this crazy madness. So John is a growth expert, public speaker. He hosts his own podcast, Power of Progression Podcast. And John, tell us about your retreat that's coming up shortly.
Yeah, so it's going to be in Destin, Florida. As of right now, it's still going on. It's going to be May 2nd. And it's something that my buddy Julian Rosen and I did last year. Julian is also a coach and a speaker. And we got 40 people that come to the retreat that are looking to really peel back the layers of the things that have been holding them back, right? Their own BS, their own stories, some valid, some not, but truly uncovering the greatness that's inside of them by peeling back those layers that's been holding them back. I mean, we dig really deep into those limited beliefs, into understanding why you're thinking the way you're thinking, but then we recalibrate and rewire their mindset, as well as give actionable tools to go throughout their day so they can create the ultimate version of themselves, be better today than they were yesterday. A lot of tears are shed, a lot of hugs for sure. So that's why we're a little weary right now if we're going to be doing it. But right now it is happening, and we have massive breakthroughs. And I wasn't sure if I was going to do it this year, and I was sitting on the beach writing out my 2020 plan. And I remember thinking and remembering the visual of the tears coming and the breakthroughs. And I reached out to a few people that were there. And what I found was that people made more money. People created way more experiences than they did the year before. They ignited relationships. They got extreme clarity. And so I just knew that it changed so many lives last year. I needed to redo it this year. So May 2nd, here in Destin, Florida, we sold out, but I went to the retreat house, as I told you. We have about 3 more spots I can get in there. It's a house that overlooks the Gulf of Mexico, so it's not like a huge conference center. It's very, very intimate because we get super real and super vulnerable. But yeah, johnmarrone.com/retreat. And I just try to give you the opportunity to see that there's more for you. But first, you got to let go of certain things and find out what they are for you, because it's for everybody. It's different.
Dude, when you were talking about, reflecting back on how you changed people's lives last year, or the lives that were changed. I don't know if you said you changed the lives. I could feel the reason why you would continue to do that. I mean, even just a couple of those stories, I think would probably be worth that entire day, if not more, because when you change someone's life like that, it's so powerful. At least for me in my life, it's been incredibly powerful. And it sounds like you had that same experience, dude.
It is, man. I cried for 2 days. Now, a lot of people who have seen me speak on stage, I do shed some tears because I speak from passion. I speak from pain, right? I speak from the struggle. There are many speakers that don't do that. They speak from knowledge, which is great. But when you've walked through hell and you saw the devil himself, it feels like, a few times, you could speak with a little bit more passion and know the actual tools that get you through it, not just, the philosophy behind it. And so when I think about those people and the lives changed, I realize that it's just that ripple effect. And that's why we do these podcasts, right? Like, we're not doing this podcast just to change somebody's life, like that's listening right now. I'm speaking so I can change their life, that changes their kids' life, that changes their family's whole entire legacy, that changes their employees' life. So people said, man, how many lives have you changed? I said, let's say if I spoke to 10,000, 15, 30, 100,000 people, I hope that it's way more than that. Because when people have changed my life, it changes my entire family's life, right? It changes my client's life. It changes the people we're speaking to now, because I'm able to take that knowledge, create wisdom through action, and then deliver that value, hopefully, to somebody else. So, man, it's way bigger than us. And that's what I'm trying to get to. Like, everything I do is way bigger than me. And that's why I got to hold myself to the highest standard. And when I feel myself falling off, like we talked about before, it's like, shit, man. Like, get up, not just for you, but for Corey, because you're about to jump on his podcast and you got to be the best you for him and for for everybody listening.
That's absolutely right. So, John, that was fantastic. Thank you. And yeah, we were talking about, during this time when we've got literally forced downtime because of the virus, what are you going to do with that time? Are you going to sit on the couch and binge on Netflix, or sit in front of the news and just watch the same bullshit over and over and get your mind even more fucked than it already is? Yeah. Or you could take this time to really capitalize. Now, I don't mean capitalize like go, sell toilet paper for $5 a roll. I mean, like, capitalize in doing something for your business to make it grow, or to think outside the box, because this is the perfect opportunity to get up and think outside of the box. I mean, what better time do you have? Everything's closed. Whatever's going on with the virus. And we were talking about also beforehand, how this virus has, I joke around a lot about it, John, but I know it's very serious for a lot of families, and a lot of families have really already suffered because of, not their kids being home and not being able to go to work. I mean, if you're depending on a regular restaurant, so to speak, income, and your restaurant's closed, that's not going to be a good situation. So for those folks, I really pray for them, and I hope that everything comes full swing back and really helps the families that need to be helped.
Yeah, and as we were talking before, we got to think a little bit deeper. Like, it's affecting us, but like for you and I, we work from home. This is our norm, so like not much has changed, a few things, right? I think all of our businesses have taken a hit because people are scared right now. But for those of you who are listening right now, that we're teachers. For those of you listening right now that were working at, gyms or working at dance studios, like all these things, like, I feel for you, because I get it. Like, that uncertainty is extremely scary. And what it does is it causes stress, it causes anxiety, it causes worrisome, and all these things cause depression. They cause alcoholism. They cause so much. You and I can relate to that because of our past. And this worrying about tomorrow's problems ruins today's peace, the whole Ed Milet thing. But guess what? It's today's problems, right? So it's like, how do we relate that? Well, we got to find opportunity in the obstacle. We have to find opportunity in every obstacle. And if you look deep, there is opportunity there. And maybe it's opportunity to be more grateful for the job that you have that you've been complaining about for the last 6 months. Maybe the opportunity is, hey, I've been complaining I don't have enough time to spend on my kids. Guess what? You got it. Right? Create those magical moments, create those memories. Maybe you complain, or you just been saying, I don't have enough time to work on a business I wanted to start. Well, now is actually a good time. You may think I'm crazy, but now is a great time to start that business, because you have the time. You can figure out what you like and what you don't like. Maybe we don't launch it right away. It's not, put publicly, but you're working on the back end. You say you don't have time to create content. You got all the time in the world. So everybody that's complaining that you didn't have enough time to do these things, read the book, work on you, it's actually great because you have that opportunity to. But I just urge everybody to change your perspective, because what we perceive is what we receive. And I just posted about it. Your perspective is either your superpower or your super problem. Like, you got it. It's up to you, man. Like in the moment of you changing your perspective to something that empowers you, to something that serves you, like there was so much clarity and such a better action afterwards. I mean, and I don't think we utilize it enough, is that perspective. So during a time like this, I feel for you. I get it. My business has taken a hit. It absolutely has. I'm sure Corey's has. Everybody's has. Like that's one big thing that we could all feel together about. But I just want you to find, what is the opportunity in this obstacle? And what are you going to do with the extra time? Are you going to sit there and just let it go and waste it away? Or are you truly going to maximize this time? Absolutely. What are you going to do with this time? Because it's going to matter so much more in 45 days, 60 days, what you do today. And I always think about, when I'm doing things, what would tomorrow think? Right? What would tomorrow think? And it helps me make a better decision for sure.
That's a great way to look at it. So, John, dude, let's dive into your story, dude. I'm so excited to hear this shit. I love when I talk to people that I don't know. I don't know the full story. So, and you're one of those people that I purposely did not dive in to find out, because I didn't want to know until today. So let's dive into some of your history, and I'll share some of my history with you, and let's rock and roll.
Yeah, absolutely. So, growing up, man, I grew up in New Jersey, and I have great parents. Unfortunately, they just didn't always make the best decisions. They're making better ones today. And I think that goes back to what I said before. It's like, somebody has changed my life, and I think it's changing their life in the process. It's a side effect, right? So growing up, when I turned about 12 or 13, I started getting into selling drugs, doing drugs. I was still playing sports and doing everything. But here's the thing, and I've realized this more recently than ever, is that I needed to be accepted. That was my goals. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to find it somewhere. So, man, I was trying to be friends with the jocks. I was trying to be friends with the musicians, trying to be friends with everybody. And I think I had something to relate to with every single one of them, but I was just trying to find a home. I was trying to find a home where I felt loved, respected, and accepted. And unfortunately, when I started selling drugs, doing drugs, and I started fighting every single day of the week, I fell into my own little category, but people accepted me. No matter if it was the jocks, the druggies, it was the sports guys, it was musicians, they all accepted me, but they accepted me for what I really didn't want, but I knew I was good at, right? I knew I was good at fighting. I knew I was good at doing drugs and selling drugs. Right. And they gave me that label, and I was proud to at least have a label.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, and it didn't empower me to be better, but because they gave me a label, see, we follow through with who we believe we are most. And a lot of times we believe who we are most by others and their opinions of us.
Oh, God, that's powerful.
And so I took that and I owned it and I walked in it. And unfortunately, I walked in it too long and I ended up in jail. And now before that, I was couch hopping. I lived in my car and I lived in motels. But when I got out of jail, I thought it was all going to change. And it really didn't change right away. I moved into a motel after being on house arrest, which is a whole nother podcast for a whole nother 6 hours, because I got some stories on house arrest for you. And so after jail, house arrest, living in a motel, and I met my now wife, and we it was hard, man, because like I just wanted to be self-destructive again. After being locked up and everything, I wanted to go back into doing cocaine and fighting.
Yeah.
And so I knew if I had her by my side, it was going to be hard. So I did everything I could to self-destruct. I did everything I could to push her away. And she stuck by my side, crazy enough. We went through many, many years of just me trying to push her away in many different ways. And then it came to a point where it was, we moved back to New Jersey from living in Florida for a little bit. And I met this guy named Pat Necarato. And Pat was a good Christian man. He helped me really find my way, but it wasn't in a moment he did. So he owned a business for sales and marketing. And he said, John, I'm going to show you how to make as much money as possible. I'm going to show you how to make people money, but I need two things from you. Number one, the life you're living is not the life that you're supposed to live. There's more for you. You got to change some of your habits. You got to change the things you're doing. So I agreed. I said, let's do it. He said, number two, any value you get and you implement, it works, give it back to somebody else. And I said, absolutely. He goes, I'll show you how to make money and give and help others make money, but I need those things. Now, Corey, I did this because I cared about one thing.
Money.
Income. Yeah.
Yeah.
Income. Like selfish John Marrone was like, yeah, bro, I'll do it. Yeah, I lied my ass off to him.
But little did you know at that time, and I know where you're going, like you committed to something so much bigger, and you just because I've been right there.
Yeah.
And it's so small-minded, you're thinking about nothing but the money. But the reality is that was the best thing that could have happened to you, wasn't it?
Oh, by far is the best thing that ever could have happened to me. And when I took that and I accepted that opportunity, I started getting better. You know, it was just, I became a byproduct of what he was teaching me and what I was preaching, but it wasn't those big strides. Maybe some of you out there could relate to that, of like, you feel like you're making a little bit of strides, but you're not seeing the progress in your income. You're not seeing the progress in all these things. It's because you're not stepping big enough. It's because you're not taking enough action. And progress is huge. And that's how I find success. I don't find success at the end of something. I find it in the progress. When I lose the 1 pound, not the 20, right? When I get that first gig, not the 20 this year. So going forward, I was doing well, but it all changed in October of 2012. And Hurricane Sandy paid a visit to Jersey Shore. And I remember it clear as day because it was a voluntary evacuation. Now, you got to remember, man, I'm Italian and I'm from Jersey, and that's a huge combination for one stubborn, selfish-ass dude. I was.
Yeah.
And so I took my family, and we actually just get this brand new place. So we lived in a 500-square-foot apartment, and we just rented this house, wood-story house. So I pulled my family from their motel. We're sitting in this house, and I remember going outside. It's like 7:30 at night, and it's just wind is whipping. I mean, there's poles flying around, but there's no rain. It's just a lot of wind. So we go back in the house and we're playing Monopoly in the bedroom, and I heard this noise, and I will never get the visual out of my head, man, of like, I heard this noise. It sounded like water. And I look to my right and I see this stream of water going through my house. And I thought, where's this water coming from? I was just outside an hour ago. Like, I legit just also walked my dog outside. There's no way there's water. Well, as I got up and I walked and I opened up my door, to my surprise, there's about 4.5 feet of water, and it's roaring rapids. There's pieces of dock. There's boats flipped over, and it's just insane. And within minutes, before I could even really react, the water cracked through the foundation, and it just started flooding into the house. And I remember my dad is sitting there with a bucket, like a mop bucket, and the window open, and he's trying to take all the water and throw it out. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to work for like 10 seconds. And I realized, you're throwing the water out that's coming right back in. Like, such in a state of shock of like not even knowing what to do, panic mode. But I get my family upstairs into the attic. And by the time I got up there, there's probably about 2 feet of water in the house. So I'm soaking wet, and go up in the attic. And as time's passed and I see the water, because it's a 1-story, so the ladder's down, the water rising rung by rung, and then bah, 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 the tree is thumping on the roof, and water's rising, trees thumping. And I look back at my family, and this is a huge, huge moment in my life, because I said, what impact have I made? And I thought to myself, I don't even know if I ever utilized that word in that kind of context. And I said, I'm going to live impact first, income second if I get out of here. And I didn't know how, nothing. I'm going to make things better. I'm going to change this world, and I'm going to change the legacy of the Marrone last name. And long story short, we got rescued. And I'm sitting in a shelter, and this is where the huge aha came in, right? It wasn't Pat. It wasn't jail. It wasn't living in my car. It wasn't actually being in Hurricane Sandy. It was sitting in a shelter when I said, I'm going to make a change, and I'm going to be better, but I don't know how. And that was it. Realizing and understanding I don't know what I don't know was my biggest opportunity to grow. I put down the pride. I put down the ego. I put down all of that, and I stripped it away. And I said, who knows what I don't know? Who knows how to be a better person? Who knows how to be a better business owner? Who knows how to be better in health? And I just searched out these people, and I digested their content, and I investigated them, and I just started implementing in my own life. And fast forward, I went from jail, living in a motel, almost losing our life in many different ways, to now living in beautiful Destin, Florida, and having the boats, the car, like everything you could think of living this dream life. But the most important part is I became the person I needed to become in order to get there. And now I'm able to deliver that on my coaching platforms, from stage, I have my podcast, other people's podcasts. And that's really the story of it all, man. Through trial, tribulation, through pain became power, through struggle, I found success. And I preach today of like, you need to first raise your hand and say, I don't know what I don't know, to drop that ego. Because it wasn't until that moment, man, like I was truly able to receive the value that was out there. Look, dude, when I was in jail, they used to call me the psychiatrist because they had these dudes coming in here, these like badass dudes coming into my cell, like telling me their life story of like what's going on with them. And I have no clue why they did it. No clue. And connecting the dots, looking backwards, all makes sense. I've had this gift. I've had this purpose. My ego gotten away from truly developing it. And I think a lot of you guys listening right now, you have this gift, you have this purpose, and I guarantee you somebody's presented that opportunity. Like, this is it, man. This is it, girl. This is it for you. And they presented it for you. They gave you the opportunity, but you had blinders on because your ego was too big. You had blinders on because you were too scared. And I put away the fear. I put away the ego, and I accepted all of who I was and what I needed to change. And it was a lot. And I just took it step by step by step. And I wasn't perfect, because here's the thing. Perfection kills progression. Ooh. And a lot of people are waiting to start that business for the perfect time. A lot of people are waiting to have that conversation for the perfect time. Stop. Perfection kills progression. Go after that, man. Just go after one step at a time, one day at a time. And take bigger steps, though. Take bigger steps. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And so that's my story in a nutshell, brother.
And so, one of the things I wanted to touch on, when you say, to take that first step, it is so important, because look, the fact of the matter is you're going to fail at something. If you don't, then most likely you're really not trying to do anything. And those times are not exactly the greatest. They're not fun, but there's so much to be learned in a lot of our failures if you have that self-awareness to be able to see. It's like you said, when these people were presenting their stories to you and you had the gift, you just didn't know you had the gift because of the ego. I can't tell you how many times in my life I look back and see that same exact kind of thing, right? And it's think about, wow, if I would have just opened my eyes and paid attention, how much could I have done? But I don't I don't stay there, but I know I could have done so much more if I would have just opened my eyes to the reality.
But what do we have, right? Because I think that's where it comes in. It's like everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that. Like where I stood in that moment, like, yes, I could have developed a skill, but guess what, bro? If I developed this skill in that moment and I really crafted it, I never would have went through Hurricane Sandy. I never would have met Pat. I never probably would have met my wife. Like all those things would have never happened. And so I pay respect to all of my obstacles. Like I pay respect to those in the moment, because we talked about before, like finding opportunity in the obstacle. Like I pay respect to it because I know there's something there. I know behind that obstacle, there's more for me. And failure, you said, man, like failure is actually, like if you look at the back of any kind of the milk carton or anything, or you look at your vitamins, you'll see all the ingredients, right? If you look at the back of a success formula, the ingredients, it's simple: failure, adversity. That's it. Like those are the things you have to go through. Now there's things in between it, right? Action, mindset, all those things. But the curriculum is that you have to go through failure and through adversity, not around it. See, I'm not worried that people aren't going to be successful. I'm worried that people aren't going to fail enough to get to the success that they want.
Yeah.
Failure is nothing but a process of elimination. Get to it faster. That's all I'm saying. Get to it faster.
Yeah. You're totally right. And I believe that you nailed it when you said fail. If you don't fail, essentially, if you don't fail, you're not going to grow. And so many people just are so terrified of that failure that they get stuck there, and I can tell you that because I've been there. And and I still go through times of being where, I don't know if you want to use the word stuck or whatever the case may be, where I'm trying to make a decision of which way to go or which opportunity makes most sense, and I get stuck, and and sometimes that stuckness, so to speak, lasts, you know, an hour. It could last a day, usually not more than a day, because if I stay in that spot, I am not effective anywhere.
Yep. Indecision. Yep.
Absolutely. So, who are some of the people you mentioned the guy Pat, but who are some of the people that you really modeled after, John, when you started this journey, so to speak?
Yeah. So, I moved to Dallas about a year after Hurricane Sandy. I took the chance to move across country. I'm a Cowboy fan, so that obviously played a little bit into effect of it. We're deciding for North Carolina or Dallas, and I was like, oh, must go to Frisco, Texas. So I went out there, and I really didn't have any friends at that moment. Okay, so what I did was I just kind of fell in love with creating virtual friends that didn't know who I was, that I wanted to emulate. So people like Darren Hardy, Tony Robbins, Hal Elrod, Eric Thomas. And the crazy part is I'm friends with Eric Thomas now. We've shared stages together. We chat. I'm friends with Hal Elrod. He's been on my podcast. We chat. We text all the time. I stood on stage with Tony Robbins, right? I've sat down and chatted with Darren Hardy. How crazy? How crazy is that? I think it's crazy, but it's also not, because I think what we focus on expands, and it's just that law of attraction. So those are some key components. So people right now might be like, man, I don't really have anybody I can look up to and reach out to. There's a YouTube channel full of them. Finding people that really connect with you and that you're a good fit. Maybe I'm a good fit for you. Maybe Corey is. Maybe, and Mylette is. Whoever it is, find it. But find three. No more than really three. Because then the messages start getting convoluted, and confused minds don't take action. Right? Confused minds don't take action. So just find three. So those are big ones. And actually, two buddies of mine, Jay Kinder and Michael Reese, they got me an opportunity when I moved to Dallas. They're real estate agents, brokers, as well as they own a coaching company. And they actually gave me an opportunity when I was broke, bro. Like, real talk, when I moved to Dallas, I had this opportunity to work and I was doing well. The job ended up not working out. My wife was taking 2 trains to downtown Dallas, like through the hood, to get to her job, and wasn't paying our bills. Mind you, my wife is like, that's high anxiety for her. She gets very high anxiety attacks. So she was sacrificing big time. I remember sitting there for a whole 30 days, and I'm running out of money, and I'm drinking every day, She's come home from her 2 train rides there, 2 train rides back, and in her scrubs, and I'm just drinking. And I don't think she realized the issue that was at hand of, like, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't get a job. I'm a felon, dude. Like, it's hard to get a job at that moment. And they gave me an opportunity, and I was about to move back to New Jersey. Within a couple weeks, 2 weeks. They gave me opportunities, 2 guys, to work on their sales team. And I went from that to working on our sales team to being a coach for them. And October, I was broke. March, I bought my first home. And that's how it happened. And that was years ago. But those 2 guys gave me the opportunity. They pushed me to be better and add value, make a difference. But the one thing you said before about people are scared to fail. I think that people are scared to fail. But like, I ask everybody, what's the biggest fear in a human? Failure, rejection, most people say. But it's neither of those. See, the biggest fear in a human, I truly believe, is disappointment. I think it's disappointment. I think that fear of failure, that when you fail, if you fail, like ultimately fail, the disappointment in yourself, the disappointment that you promised your wife that this was going to work, you promised your kids that you're going to buy this house, right? Like that disappointment strikes so hard that we try to avoid it at all costs. And we know that sometimes failure creates disappointment. Now, that's if you allow it, right? Like rejection, if you get rejected, it creates disappointment. And so that, I think, is the biggest problem people have, is they need to get over the emotion of, like, you won't be disappointed if you take that lesson and you learn something from it, and then you grow from it, right? You take actions and never let it happen again. And so going back to your question before, though, those are some people in my life that have definitely changed my life. But I wanted to just touch on that point about failure because I think it's so important. Because I know what that feels like, to feel like you disappointed yourself, your family, your whoever you're in a relationship with, your kids, because that disappointment causes shame, and that's a very hard emotion to live with. And some of us walk around with it daily, and it all comes from up here versus like what the actual facts are.
Sure. Let's talk. You mentioned that, it's hard to get a job when you're a felon, dude. Like, in 2005, I got caught with 4 ounces of cocaine. So I'm right there with you. And, also, I didn't graduate college. So for me, I think for a long time, John, I lived with that category of, I'm a felon and I don't have a college education. Well, I guess I'll take what I can get, and that, and I was still drinking after all of that stuff until 2009. And 2009 is when I decided that I was going to stop drinking. And then my life started to change, slowly but surely. But it really started to change October of 2018. And I lost my hormone clinic during that time, which was two reasons. That day in particular, October 1st, 2018, was important. That was the day I was going to buy my ticket to go see Tony Robbins. And so it was such an important day because of that was the bigger reason. It wasn't even the fact that I was losing the clinic. It was the fact that I had visualized, I had written in my journal, I knew I was supposed to go see him, period, on this, in November. And what happened was my wife connected with Robbins Research and worked out a deal and bought me a ticket. And I was at the clinic, and she had called me and she said, I need you to go sit in front of your computer. And John, I just tell you the story because this was one of the times that my life was changed forever. By her doing that act of kindness was something that I wasn't used to. I don't know if I've ever had anybody sacrifice something like that for me, and me recognize it. You know what I mean? And so that happened, and and I wound up going, and that has changed the direction of my entire life.
Yeah. And it's a lot of people say behind every great man there's a better woman. I believe beside every great man there's a better woman. Sometimes it's hard for us to realize that and recognize that, but that act of kindness, man, changed your life. So it's like, now I see why you create active kindness in other people's lives, like randomly, right? And just like an act of kindness, guys, doesn't have to be like buying them something. Like it could just simply be an email. It could be a text. It could be a phone call, and just say, hey, just want to say I'm thinking of you. Just want you to have a good day. Hey, man, love you, brother. You go crush the day. Like that little bit of kindness when you're walking past somebody and you don't even know them. Hey, man, I love your shirt. Like that one thing can change somebody's entire day. Like who knows what that person might have been thinking before that. Right? Like there's so much. Whenever you're walking around, remember like an act of kindness can be simply just words to create a little bit of happiness in someone's life that we don't know what they're dealing with, because we don't know what they're dealing with. We talked about it when we first started. We don't know what certain people are dealing with this virus. But what if you walk past somebody today and you just said, man, I love what you're doing with your hair. Man, that's an awesome, awesome shirt. Just something simple. It'll make them feel good. And so an act of kindness is just making somebody feel good. And you could do that with a simple sentence. Try
absolutely.
it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you're totally right. It could be as drilled down as simple as a note. In fact, a note or a thank you card is so powerful these days, like because you don't get it. You don't see people do it. And so when you receive something that's a handwritten note in the mail, it's like, wow, that person really gives a shit.
Yep. It's next level, man. It's next level. Go the extra mile, because it's usually nobody's out there. You know what I mean? When you go the extra mile. So if you're running a business, think about how you can go the extra mile, because nobody else is out there.
That's absolutely true. So you mentioned that you were a felon in drugs. I'm assuming drugs is the reason behind that.
No, fighting. So I was addicted to many things, drugs, gossip, negativity, and one big one was violence and anger, and not towards like women or anything, but like complete aggression. Hurt people, Corey. And I think you probably understand that as well. And I just always wanted to fight. Like I was a guy at the bar. My wife hated it. That like you walk past me, I'm doing whatever I can to like shoulder you. And I usually try to find the biggest guy, right? Like I wanted a challenge. Now that's never changed. I still want challenges, but I wanted a challenge, and I would go out and seek it. But I went for so many years of being like, it wasn't me, it was them. They eyed me. Well, I think that the way I put myself out there and the way I did things, I was asking for it, right? I think I was. And then the one time that I know for sure, I legit wasn't doing anything. Like I was just chilling. I just got to the place. Unfortunately, I got into a fight, and some damage happened, and ended up going to jail. And I just laugh because I'm like, the one time it's not my fault, but it is my fault because I made the decision to go to that bar versus going to do something else that night that I know I could have done that would have got me out of that situation. So it all starts and ends with you. Anybody listening right now, drop the victim story. Drop the victim story because I was in jail because of me, right? Hurricane Sandy happened for me, but it's because of me that I turned my life around, right? Everything happens for you then because of you. Like everything is because of you. It starts and ends with you. And if you could just find ownership, right? And then own your shift. Like I always say, you got to own your shit, then own your shift. Like in every single outcome, the good and the bad. But yeah, so it was fighting that got me there.
Yeah.
I almost got there a few times with drugs, but never went. I mean, I got close to there, close enough.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you were drinking pretty heavily. Is that something that you found that is? Do you still drink?
Yeah, yep. I still drink, and people ask me all the time, "But you're an addict. How can you drink?" It's like, well, I get to choose what I'm addicted to nowadays. I've created such a powerful mindset most days that I've actually been able to take my addiction and be addicted to like having this podcast. Like I get stoked, right? Like when I'm going to go to the beach here in a little bit with my daughter, like I'm going to be addicted in that moment. And so I taken what everybody thinks is a bad thing, the addiction, and I turned it into a superpower. And I could drink now. Like I could drink without having the temptations. It took me a little bit, but side note, I was on the run for about a year, in hiding kind of because I'd warrants out. So I couldn't really do drugs for about a year there. So my addiction level to drugs went down a lot because I was forced to not be there. But yeah, so, I could definitely drink now and not have the problem of thinking about it. But here's what's crazy. I went to New Jersey a year ago. And as soon as I arrived in my town, the first thing I thought of was drugs. And I haven't done them in years. Right? So my environment is so crucial to my sobriety of cocaine and the other stuff. My environment is really what keeps me handled. I think when you get out of the environment, it's so hard for your mind to really block out all those past triggers because there's so many coming at once that it's very hard to fight against. So my environment is conducive to my goals. So yes, I could drink without even thinking about it. I used to smoke cigarettes for since I was 13 till probably about 5 years ago or so, 6 years ago. And I don't even think about it anymore. Like, don't even think about it. And so I've trained my mind to know that it's the most powerful muscle I have. And if I start to train it, start to really put these calluses in there that benefit me, I could be in a little bit more control. And that's what we all want, right? We just want control.
Absolutely. So, so in July of 2018, right before this stuff happened, I went to AA for a long time. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because you said, well, yeah, it seemed like you had a problem, but then you said, well, I could drink because I've train my mind. So this is what I want to drop on you and see what you say. So if you think about, you've been to an AA meeting, I'm sure, at some point, and you have to stand up and say, I am an alcoholic. So think about that, John. If I stand up 5 or 6 days a week and I profess I am an alcoholic, what is that doing to your brain?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the affirmations.
It's reinforcing the fact that you're broken. It's reinforcing the fact that I'm still this junkie. I'm still this addict. So I personally, and I moved away from AA because of that, because I'm not an alcoholic. Like, I'm not an alcoholic. I haven't drank in 10 years. Like, I just don't fucking drink. I mean, it's simple. Yesterday,
I love that.
We went to a bar. We went to a bar because my wife is a wedding photographer and she had to go meet clients. And at the bar, they had nitro coffee, and I wanted to try it. The guy poured nitro beer or whatever the fuck it was beside of it and handed it to me in like a little ramekin or shot like plastic thing. And I took 2 of them. So one for my wife and one for myself. And I drank it. And I was like, does this have alcohol in it? He was like, well, yeah. And I was like, I need the other, I need the one without it. And so my wife was like, oh my God, I'm furious. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, doesn't even matter. Like,
yeah,
it's not like I'm going to go fucking have another beer. Like, it wasn't even a whole beer. It was just, like a taste of it. But the point is, I guess, is that my mindset is so different now. I just don't look at it the same.
I agree. And I love that you talked about that I am an alcoholic. And I didn't go to many meetings. Like everything was all self-healing, to be honest. And the more I tell my story and have self-reflection, the better I get every single time. And I think that's the most powerful thing is the self-reflection. But yeah, the I am an alcoholic and I am a drug addict. I never actually put that together, but that is so true because I'm a believer in affirmations and incantations. And if we're feeding our mind that, it is not, you're right. I mean, it's like me saying, I am overweight, right? I am overweight versus right. I am fit. I am this, I am that, right? I'm a loser with no money. I'm a loser with no money. Like that's, man.
You're really bad
I think
combination.
AA needs to change some things.
I totally agree. And, I
helped people, right? So here's the thing, guys, we're not putting AA down. It's helped many people. We're just saying that one thing could definitely be tweaked to be a little bit more valuable in the context that you say it.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly. Because like you said, AA served its purpose for me, but I'm so happy that I realized in that moment in July, and it changed the way I looked at everything. And so I've talked about this now on several of the podcasts. I spoke Saturday morning at a wasn't an AA meeting, but it was AA people at a group home, a men's group home. And I talked about this, and it's a little dicey in a place like that because, if you know anything about most folks in AA, like they're fully committed, and most likely they're fully committed because they say I am, it's almost like you're whatever. You understand where I'm going.
Yep.
And so in that conversation with these guys, I really didn't know what kind of response I'd get because these guys they go to like fucking 20 meetings a week or something. I mean, it's something crazy. And so, but surprisingly, I had a lot of guys that said, I actually understand what you're saying and I identify with what you're saying, and what you're saying makes sense. And I was shocked that I got that response from so many people in this group of people in this, men's place or men's home.
Man, it's the small hinges that swing open big doors, right? Like that's when I coach, when I speak, I just try to give people those small hinges that swing open big doors. I try to provide people those the simple solutions, not easy, the simple solutions to the hard shit they're dealing with. So that little statement that you said, I mean, it's just a small shift, man, but it makes the world of a difference in the outcome.
Absolutely. 100%. So I would like for you for a moment to talk about do you mind painting us a little bit of a picture of what your retreat's going to be like? I'm pretty interested to hear, you mentioned a little bit about it earlier, but can you walk us through a couple of things that you do that are really for you that really fill you up more than anything else in the day, so to speak?
Absolutely. So the first day actually is May 1st. Right now it's it's optional. Next year it's going to be mandatory. But first day is optional. And what we're going to do is we get on electric bikes and we drive down 30A. These things go like 25 miles an hour without like you pedaling. It's pretty gnarly. We'll stop at a few places. We'll go to the state park. We'll go to a few restaurants and just kind of, get you immersed into the local scene. And then we'll come back and we'll end at a beach bonfire right on the beach. And that's right in front of the house. So it's going to be a full day of networking, really being around like-minded individuals and creating that network. A lot of people have created a lot of friendships from the last retreat, and those friendships have turned into business partners. Those friendships have turned into just lifelong value-adding relationships. So that first day, I love. One of the most incredible things I like to see is just people, like you would never think would connect as far as like their lifestyles. And then all of a sudden they connect and they started a business together. And it's pretty cool. So that's the first day. The second day, which is the actual retreat, we get in at 8:30 and we start right away, right? We start right away. First, it's a beautiful home that is white sandy beaches. If anybody's ever been to Destin, Florida, the beaches are the whitest beaches in the country. The water is see-through for miles. Gorgeous. So the scenery cannot be beat. And we sit there, and the first thing we're going to do is go through a breathing exercise. We'll go through some Wim Hof breathing exercises.
I got to stop you. I got to stop you right there. So, dude, I swear to God, yesterday, and this is going to sound crazy because I should know this, but yesterday was the first time, or maybe it was even the day before, I finally watched Wim Hof stuff, and I just started it. That's some powerful shit.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's insane.
It's crazy. Like it's almost like you're high as a fucking kite when you're finished.
Right.
It's crazy. All right, go ahead.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And that's the point, right? Like it's this retreat is to get people extremely opened up with their vulnerabilities because we got to dig deep, man. And so we do that. We do some EFT work. So Julian's going to walk people through some EFT work. And doing that's going to allow you to finally receive, right? Those years of you masking all of those issues and those problems. And it's going to allow you to slowly strip those things away and have the most, I would say the best state that you could be in for most optimal reception of getting the content. And then we'll break into
that's emotional freedom technique, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yep, absolutely. So a lot of at times we go into a conference and our walls are up, right?
Yeah.
This ain't going to work for me. This is BS, whatever the case is. This brings the walls down fast, like strips everything away. And then we'll break into, Julian and I will rotate on our different sessions, right? So Julian's going to talk about higher self versus ego self. I'm going to talk about obstacle thoughts, how our thoughts can actually create a strategy around the obstacles around us that's actually going to get us to where we want to go. We're going to have sessions on limited beliefs, like what's the one thing that's been holding you back? And how to uncover that. Is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a thing? And we're going to get really visual. We're going to get to the place where we see that person, where we see that thing, and really confront it and face it for the last time and let them know that you cannot stop me anymore. I'm not going to my grave with you, because if I do, I know I'm not living to my fullest potential. I'm not living the ultimate life I want to live, because you can't if that thing is holding you back. And then we're going to go into how to be more productive to make more income. We're going to talk about habits, how to habit stack, right? And create triggers to go ahead and make sure those habits are actually happening. And so you can stay consistent. Most of the times people don't stay consistent with their habits because they don't habit stack with triggers. What I mean by that is every day I say my gratitude. A trigger is I shampoo my hair, and immediately I speak into my gratitude. I see it. I feel it. I let that joyous emotion rise into me. But if I don't shampoo my hair every day, I might forget it because I just go through the day. So we go through this whole day of 8 hours of complete immersion. And then we end with, I'm not going to say what it is, but last year we got super deep into our why, right? Like so clear. A lot of people struggle with that. We got so clear on our why. And then that thing that holds us back. and our biggest fear. And we wrote them on boards and we broke through the boards, but it's this whole ending ceremony. So we have another ending ceremony that I'm super excited to do. It's not going to be board breaking this time, but it's going to be an ending ceremony that's really going to allow you to step into this new version of you and let go of the old one, right? And it's going to be powerful. It's going to be fun. And then we go ahead and we go into the cocktail party. So we got some drinks, we got some food, and we have the beautiful view of the Gulf of Mexico, where you could take 5 steps and you're right on the white sandy beaches. And we're just going to connect and ignite our relationships.
That's fantastic, dude. It sounds amazing.
It sounds amazing. It's crazy because it's only $249, right, to come. And Brad Lee is a friend of mine. And so I was on his podcast and we went out to the Knights game. He goes, "Can I tell you something?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You're stupid." Like, what? Anybody knows Brad Lee knows that he just spits
right.
The truth, right? Whether it's right or wrong, indifferent, he just spits how he feels. I mean, what do you mean? He goes, "You're crazy. Like, your value for $249 for the entire day, like, and you're paying for lunch, paying for dinner, you're paying for the drinks, you're paying for the snacks, you're paying for the bonfire. Like, what are you doing?"
And
right. I'm like, "I don't know. I just want to provide value." He's like, "Yeah, but bro, like, you can't go broke doing it." Like, and so what I realized is this is the last year we're doing it $249. Next year we'll probably do a 2-day event and it'll be $1,000.
I think that's totally fucking fair.
Yeah, I know guys that are charging $5K for it. So
I saw $249 and I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah. Now you got to find your own place to stay. So that kind of a little bit different, but man, it's like, I looked at it. I'm like, cause I don't make money on the ticket sales. Legit. No. Like you do the math. You get a house on the Gulf of Mexico for 3 days and tell me $249, only 40 people are allowed at the retreat cause it's a house. How do I make money? Like, right. And I get swag, really cool swag. You know, we get all the food catered, everything. You do the math. Tell me where I'm making money on the front end, right?
No chance. Yeah,
no. So, but it's okay. It's the most beautiful experience I've ever been a part of. I've stood on many stages. I've coached many people. You know, I have my group coaching. But the most rewarding thing I ever have ever happened to me in that kind of coaching setting was the retreat. We could tell, man, my wife is like, "You're still crying?" It's like 2 days later. Like, come on, calm down. Like, it was just overpour of emotion of just seeing everybody's life changed. And if you guys go to johnmarrone.com/retreat, you'll see the video. It's a 2-minute sizzle, and just watch that 2-minute sizzle and you'll see the emotions and the roller coaster of what we went through that day within 2 minutes, and you'll see why you have to be there.
Dude, it's fantastic. And that's a great way for us to wrap up, John. I'm super excited to hear more about, you know, everything. I have a feeling that I'm going to be helping you with this retreat at some point.
Yes.
So, dude, thank you so much today. I really appreciate you doing this. And luckily I got the fucking Facebook to work. I'm slightly challenged when it comes.
How many people we have on Facebook right now?
I don't know. I can't see. I can't really see it. But I wonder
if anybody has any questions. I'm free for another 7 minutes. I'll take questions.
Yeah, let's see if I can. All right, let me go to this gallery view here. Oh yeah, there you go. I didn't even think about that.
Not sure how it works. It's all good.
I don't even see. I don't see where it's even live streaming, to be perfectly honest with you. Do you?
No, but it's all good, man. It's all good. If anybody has any questions, follow up, obviously they can reach out to me. Instagram, anything.
Oh, it's a great point. It's so weird. Let me try. Let me just see if I can click. Sure, I mean, there's got to be. There we go. All right, so, yeah, we've got one comment. I don't even see the comment, so who knows, dude?
All good, brother. All good.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, yeah, if you guys would like to reach out to John, tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So at Real John Marrone, and it's Marrone on Instagram. It's also my Facebook page. And if you have any questions, you definitely reach out to me on Instagram. I answer all my messages personally, no bots. On YouTube, just look up John Marrone. You'll see my YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. JohnMarrone.com is where you can see my coaching platforms. You can see how to hire me to speak, my retreat. And then last but not least, my Power of Progression podcast on Spotify and iTunes. I've had some amazing people on: Trent Shelton, Eric Thomas, Hal Elrod, Lisa Bilyeu, Heath Evans, and the list goes on and on and on. And Corey's going to be coming on as well. We'll drop some value on there. And I have my own episodes on there. So Power of Progression, go follow, go subscribe, whatever podcast platform you listen to. But other than that, reach out, man. I would love to hear people's story and see how I can help them in their journey.
For sure. All right, John. Thank you, brother. I appreciate the hell out of this. And let me just see if I can